That's Entertainment by Carol Kerwood, Valor Beach 2448. Narrated by Chloe Schwank. Annie, get your gun. The lights, the color, the large banner advertising the film of Irving Berlin's musical. I could hardly contain my excitement as my cousin and I crossed the road to Tunbridge Wells Playhouse to buy tickets. I was 9 years old and in my very best dress. In England in the early 1950s, with war food rationing still in place, there were shortages of everything, including entertainment. As the stage productions of Annie, Get Your Gun lifted the American public's spirits in the 1940s, so did the film of the play lighten the mood in our war-damaged part of the world. Sitting in the theatre's velvet seats and with the lights dimmed, we were suddenly transported to the Wild West. Betty Hutton as the feisty, sharpshooting Annie, Howard Keel, a handsome, romantic, funny Frank Butler, singing The Girl That I Marry to an Annie who eventually realizes, you can't get a man with a gun. I hardly understood the sparring between Frank and Annie, yet remember the songs still. Till then, the main entertainment in our village was the Saturday afternoon film matinee. The films were shown in a large, cold, corrugated iron hall a few doors down from our cottage. Nothing flash, just a screen and hard metal seats. Not that this detracted from the program. A cartoon, a movie-tone newsreel. I seem to remember a patriotic theme or reports of the activities of the royal family. A serial that kept us in suspense week after week, and then a full-length feature film. With the sounds of air raid sirens preceding the nightly German raids still ringing in my ears, and all around the countryside the sight of shattered buildings, I clearly remember being affected by a film in which the crew of a submarine torpedoed in the Second World War become trapped on the ocean floor. I recall the hopelessness of the men as they ran out of air, and in my mind can still hear the strange, hollow, pinging sound of the sonar. The Romney Marshes, where we lived at the time, was the setting for another film. It told of a farming family devastated by an infection of foot and mouth disease in their sheep. I can still see the desperation of the family as their flock was shot and burnt, all in black and white, yet so vivid. There were no mature audience rating or trigger warnings those days. In the background of the hall was the sound of the whirl of the film passing through the projector. Sometimes we would hear a sudden sharp snap as the film tape broke and find the hall plunged into darkness and the spell broken. The local boys would jeer and slow clap while we waited for the tape to be mended and rewound. 3 or more hours later we came out into the unreal afternoon light and walked home longing for the following Saturday. On Sunday nights our family would have an early tea of sandwiches and cake in front of the fire, after which we would stoke up the fire, turn down the paraffin lamp, and snuggle down in front of the rather crackly Bakelite radio to listen to an episode of a serial and a comedy program. Much Binding in the Marsh and Take It From Here were favourites. When our family moved to Australia, there was a real cinema in the small Victorian town where we finally settled. Before the film started, everyone patriotically stood during the playing of a recording of God Save the Queen. It seemed that almost all adults smoked in those days, it even being permitted in cinemas, so we watched the films through a cloud of smoke. Every week a newsreel and a cartoon were shown before interval, after which followed a full-length feature film. By the 1960s, Melbourne theatres were showing live and lavish productions of musicals. I went to see June Bronhill cast as Eliza Doolittle in My Fair Lady, also a production of The Mikado. We were humming the songs for months afterwards. Then, in the 70s, Jesus Christ Superstar exploded onto the Melbourne stage. I had never seen anything like it. When I was young, music only played a small part in my life. though my maternal grandmother played the piano and sang songs like Lavender Blue and Knees Up, Mother Brown. She also played the accordion with my uncle playing his, and my paternal aunts played the guitar and sang. I never learned to play an instrument, but what a joy it was to attend live classical music when I lived in Melbourne in the 1960s, even at a price a student could afford. On one occasion, I heard the world-famous David Oistrakh playing the Beethoven violin concerto. All over the suburbs, drive-in theatres became a popular entertainment. We hooked up a speaker to the car window, pushed back our seats, wrapped ourselves in blankets and prepared for a cozy night. If we felt brave, we attended the late sessions to watch horror films, then almost too scared to go home. Mostly those days have gone, for much of our entertainment is now experienced at home in a solitary way. With our earphones plugged into our ears, we listen to music and receive our news from our phones. We watch films streamed free to air or on the Netflix channel, noting the trigger warnings and phone numbers to ring should we be psychologically affected by the content. But with these new forms of entertainment, I feel a certain nostalgia for a time when we would innocently sing along to Doin' What Comes Naturally, for the days when we would hear the combined intake of breath of the whole movie audience as the hero wins the day, or nearly didn't, or see groups of people stopping in the street to read the billboard announcing the latest news, and all the exciting new glamorous shows on now or coming soon. Ah me, it's a different world. The end.